Hey, hey, this is the first time we ever speak. Never before in my life. What's up? What's up? Oh, I think my internet or yours kind of started. Like, okay. Okay, me, I'm Juan Diego, from the band Mil Ataris por segundo, 1,000 ataris per second. I wish I knew how to say it in Japanese, but I don't, so I'll just keep it. uh, um, well, I guess I was the founder of the band, guitarist, screamer, and yeah, uh, the first Atari. Well, I had another band that's kind of like paused, uh, named Cats and Beloved Pets, with my dear friend Orlando, who is the second Atari ever too, bassist. And well, currently I have another project called Beets Battlestar, uh, thanks to The Office, uh, and I've been, well, I play guitar with a friend of mine named Jorge Andres, whose project is also named Jorge Andres. And I don't know, I always make up like aliases that I forget about. So there's plenty of back and links out there that I don't remember. But yeah, I think those are like the main things I'm kind of like working on right now. Yeah, it's like electropop, I guess. Like indie, like really indie, straightforward indie, I guess, inspired. I guess it had like some like guitar influence from Midwest emo as well, but I guess yeah, it's not directly emo or anything, or I wouldn't call it that, I guess. Yeah, yeah. It was like the most indie driven thing I've done, I think. Sure, sure.
Recording. Here we go. We're back. Apologies, technical issues. Yeah, cut back. Okay, so next question is yeah, you're involved in a lot of interesting projects, lots of emo, indie, and a bit of screamo as well. So what is your musical background? And yeah, what did you hear growing up, and what led you into emo and stuff?
Okay, so when I was like, I think like 10 or 11, well, at least my father always he likes post-punk a lot. So when I was like a child, I listened to, I don't know, The Cure and Bauhaus and that type of band.
Hell yeah.
But I guess never got involved like in listening to music until I was like maybe 10 or 11, and I started with the Beatles, which is like I think the main point like for anyone that doesn't know where to start to listen to music, I guess. And from then on, I kind of like got into like a lot of popular indie bands like The Strokes, Interpol, I don't know, like Arctic Monkeys, and I guess until I was like 14, I was really into that. Then I kind of went into like folk a lot. Like I love listening to Devendra Banhart and I don't know, Jonna Newsom, like freak folk type stuff. And I kind of like had listened to emo because I also like Japanese bands. And when I was 17, I was really into shoegaze. So kind of like the parallel between shoegaze and emo, especially with Japanese bands, is really easy like to fall into it. But I guess I was never interested in emo because I got called emo like from in my teenage years, but not in a good way, like
Yeah.
like oh you're so emo or whatever, and I was always like I'm not fucking emo, and so I kind of like never got into that type of thing until I was like 18, and I met a friend called Santiago and Javier, who is Bolas Criollas, who was also in the band, and he's like the most like literal emo person that I know, and then I kind of like started listening to This Town Needs Guns out of curiosity.
Yeah.
At first I hated it because I thought it was too technical and clean, and then I thought like, you know what? Maybe I should learn how to play a guitar and stop criticizing it. you know. So from then on, I kind of like got into cap and jazz at the same time, like when I was 18, and I guess with cap and jazz, I resonated a lot more because it felt like a lot more like driven by emotion rather than technicality, I guess,
Mm.
or it was like more poetic maybe or artistic in a way. So yeah, from then on, I always listen to a bunch of stuff. I don't usually. I wouldn't say like I just listen to emo. I guess I like indie or folk and electronic music as well. But yeah, I guess that basically the Beatles and indie rock was like my
Gateway.
gateway to
Yeah.
music as a whole. Yeah,
Very good, man.
yeah, and
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think you're probably most well known for guitar, of course. But yeah, what instruments can you play, and which is your favorite instrument?
Okay, so I think guitar is my main thing. It's the only one I kind of know what I'm doing, and I will not even say I'm that aware of it. Um, I also like do keyboards or like in music I always use synths and stuff. So I guess I kind of like can play like maybe like a monkey will play a keyboard, but I can do it enough
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make it work. And yeah, I've also recorded like bass parts, but I don't really know how to play bass. I've also recorded drums, but I suck at drumming. I'm really bad at counting too. So I will say guitar, and probably it's my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite instrument. Even though I would like to play drums a lot too. I'd like to learn someday how to play proper drums.
Mm,
But yeah,
very nice. Well, there's always time as well.
yeah,
Drum,
yeah. I hope
drum
so. I hope
time.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Next one is, what is your songwriting process? Yeah, I guess for the bands or for when you're writing music, what do you do?
Well, I usually I have this really bad tendency to not be able of writing a song like by playing it. Like I usually kind of like do it as if it was a scrapbook. And so I have like these little riffs that I end up like recording. And when I record the song, it's kind of like when I make it evolve and grow. So I usually, for at least for the instrumentals, I tend to have like a basic idea. I start recording, and I usually uh, spend like a few hours there, and I have like the whole base of the song. And for vocals or lyrics, I do something similar. That is, I always write stuff or have like my notepad in my MacBook filled with little ideas. And then when I record the song, I kind of like choose what parts I like, and then I make like a whole new thing out of the little text. But yeah, it's funny because I think of all the people I know that I've made music with, I'm the only one that isn't able of writing like a full song without recording it first. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's like, sounds like a bit of a puzzle, like putting together puzzle pieces to make a song.
Yeah, kind of. I guess it's also because for a really long time, I never found people to play with.
Yeah.
So usually, when I had ideas, it's like two guitars that I want to make, and the only way to actually make them happen is by recording it, because I didn't have like people that I could actually be like, hey, let's work together this idea, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So for most of the bands, it's like that. I usually just make the whole idea and have it recorded.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice. So yeah, we've mentioned this a little bit before as well with the Beatles and whatnot. But what other types of music do you listen to? I guess more like these days, or what are you listening to recently that is different than the types of music that you make, or that is not emo? I guess.
Um. Well, lately I've been listening to a lot of emo, but I think I don't know. I listen sometimes like to. I like to listen like to electronic music. Sometimes on the electropop, or yeah, maybe like there's some instrumental electronic music that I like too. But like I don't know, like Lulatone, which is
Mm.
like this Japanese American band, which is like poppy and ambient, and I don't know, but it's I usually like to listen stuff that kind of helps me bring something else to what I write, or when I listen to music, I always think like, oh, this works. Like how I could put it together on something I will make. For example, I went to like a rave yesterday, and I was like, there were times where the texture on the sound will hype people up, or make you feel some type of way that made me think like, whoa, I wonder like how can you actually bring some effect like that into music. But yeah, I sometimes listen to, I don't know, like to really pop or mainstream stuff. Like I don't know, like I will listen to, I don't know, Pink Panthers, or even like old Nicki Minaj songs, stuff like this. Just out of like yeah, I don't know. I guess you can't always listen to emo, or you're gonna be depressed all day. So it's kind of like I have to work it out. But yeah, I think recently I've been listening to just a lot of emo. So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Because yeah, the next question is yeah, what have you been listening to that is emo then? Do you have any recommendations or any shout outs? Anything? What have you been listening to a lot of?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of Henry Tremaine projects. He's like the lead singer of This Town Needs Guns nowadays. He had this band called P9s that I think it's awesome. I've been listening to a lot of Javier's music, Bolas Criollas. He actually had a show yesterday, and it was beautiful. So I was listening to a lot of his songs too. And well, I was trying to record something inspired by A Picture of Her, which is a Japanese band. I think the guitarist for Toe produced their first album. So I think those are like maybe my three recommendations: P9s, Bolas Criollas, and A Picture of Her. Yeah.
Very good.
And well, I don't know, Joan of Arc, but I don't know, Tim Kinsella. Tim Kinsella is always a reference somewhere. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. And Joan of Arc, absolutely.
yeah.
Uh, okay, so I got a couple of questions for you. So I've seen you post a little bit recently. So Militaris is over.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of is. I guess I post a lot, like of stuff we made, mostly because I think like when it happened, I wasn't that good at keeping an archive of the stuff. So right
Yeah,
now, all the old videos and stuff that I find, I'm like, oh, I should post this. Probably someone's gonna enjoy having that around.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's kind of over. Yeah, I don't know.
Is there
Just
any reason? Is there any kind of reason that it's over, or like, is it more just moving on or trying some different things, or is it a hard over?
Yeah.
You're never coming back, or
I don't know. I think it's like at the moment that I wasn't originally thinking about ending the band so soon, but I guess it was hard maintaining it in terms of being a live band. We went through a lot of changes, sometimes driven by personal issues, sometimes driven like by just logistics in general. Like it was hard, especially here in Venezuela. Like it's really hard to maintain a band, or I think like everywhere, but at least here there's not that many like people interested in at least like emo, or it's not like we could like I don't know like tour or play a lot
Mm.
and kind of like keep it together, but rather usually it meant we will lose money by rehearsing. We will kind of like lose money on gas, on on the time that you had to invest on keeping it together. And by the time we had our last show, it wasn't gonna be our last show, but what happened was that we kind of had a date for to play. I don't know, like maybe in March or something. March, April, I don't know. But the thing is, like, that date was moved like a week before we were actually gonna play, and they moved it like for 2 months. So it was like it kind of felt at that point like uh, I guess frustrating. It
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
god, I can't believe we cannot even like have the decency of keeping a date because I don't know, like the venue is gonna you know change it or whatever. I guess I was also like trying to. I feel like I'm a really bad like adult, or I'm really bad at behaving in a way that actually fits adulthood. And
Yeah, yeah.
so at the same time, I was like, yeah, maybe I should try and focus on now, no, getting a job, or at least um, not being so chaotic. So it was motivated by a lot of things, but I think we probably will be up to I don't know if make music, but at least play like a few more times. I guess when the time feels like right, and like it makes sense or something.
Very nice.
At
Yeah,
least speaking for myself, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right. Next question is, yeah, specific to you as well. Is so much of your music and your art references cats and just animals?
Yeah.
And I guess why is that? Is that kind of a conscious thing, or is it just because you just like cats? Or
Yeah, I guess I just like cats a lot. I think they're like the cutest pet you can get, I think. I don't know. It's weird. I got like my cat that's laying around in the table over here. He's like 10 years old. I got it like when I was 14, and it's kind of like since I got it, I don't know. I always started like tried to draw him and stuff. So it kind of like by the time I started the bands or my projects, I was already like really into I don't know making stuff that had that reference.
yeah.
And yeah, I guess I just love cats. I've had a few, so it's like
Very
yeah.
good. I love it. All right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. In many ways, you and I have very similar things and stuff, and I always love cats, of course.
I know.
But so I thought I'll ask you about that. All right. So the next question is, what inspires you that is not music?
Mm, well, for when I was a little bit younger, like when I was like 16 and 17, I started like reading a lot of like different things, and I guess um, like writing or literature in general, it's kind of like something that I feel it's like a really like difficult medium of art. I feel like at least with drawing and with music, it's kind of like more direct to get a reaction out
Yeah.
of people or a feedback. But with writing, I feel like it's really really hard. I also have like my grandfather used to write and stuff. So I guess I I try uh, to go into literature when I think about what could I make that like how do you actually become able of becoming better at expressing yourself, right? Kind of. So at least with music and writing, I always try to get inspiration from it, from books or from I don't read a lot of poetry, but I really like authors that kind of have a way of I don't know of making words mean something completely different than they usually do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I will say that's like one of my main inspirations outside of listening to music, at least. Yeah.
Very nice. Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna ask about that in outlandish questions as well, but yeah, do you want to give us some examples of books or authors or anything like that, perhaps?
Yeah, sure. Well, when when I when I was like 17, I read this book called Los Detectives Salvajes, which will translate to the Wild Detectives, I guess. And it's by a Chilean author named Roberto Bolaño. And he actually has this poem called Los Perros Románticos, like the romantic dogs. That is actually the reason why the song of Military is called Perros and has a sample of that poem at the end. And I think he's an example of someone that could actually write like anything. He was a really good poet. He was a really good like novelist as well. I also liked a lot of Japanese authors when I was a teenager, like Osamu Dazai is like one big poet. He reminds me a lot of like Russian literature, which is like super depressing, but it's like really, really well written. There's this other author that I liked, Junichiro Tanizaki. He has this book named Naomi, who I also think is like, well, that book at least, I think it's really, really good. It's like a Japanese Lolita type of book, kind of. It kind of works on age dynamics or whatever. And I don't know. I will say maybe, yeah, I don't know. I like a lot of stuff, but I guess like uh, those authors are like kind of examples of what I like. That I feel like they're really angsty, so I like angsty, angsty people. I guess.
Very nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I always hate being put on the spot like for examples or like best of lists, but I think that's great, yeah. A couple of good examples and then we can look
Yeah.
for more. Okay,
Hopefully, someone gets interested in any of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think what you said about literature in general as well is so true. About the different types of uh, like the immediacy of your message and stuff is like you can't. There's nothing
Yeah.
really close to books in other media. I think like movies and music and TV shows and games. Like all of those are amazing and they're all unique as well. But it is true, like books are still a little bit different, aren't they, in terms of like depth
I
and
feel it's like more subjective as well. I feel like it's kind of more open to your own way of yeah of interpreting the words, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Well, like pretty much nothing. There's only one thing is given to you, a word, and then everything is processed internally, which is yeah,
yeah,
again
exactly.
different than most other
That
mediums.
it's really scary. I feel like in terms of like writing or stuff, because at least with I don't know, you listen to a song and if you don't like it, you already know you don't like it by the 10-second mark, probably. Or I don't know, with a video game, it's kind of if you're playing like a shitty video game, you're gonna know you don't like it pretty quickly too. I don't know. So yeah,
Mm.
books, books.
Books, books, exactly. All right. We're going into a couple of outlandish questions. Woo! So
Sure,
first
sure
one,
thing.
first one is, do you like sport? And did you play any sport when you were younger? Anything like that?
Um, I I did like swimming when I was like 10 for a year, and I think that's like the most sporty thing I've ever done. I think one of the main reasons I probably got called emo was because I hated sports, and in school I was always like, if people were gonna like play sports, like 80 or 90% of the kids were like, oh hell yeah, I want to, I don't know, play soccer, and I usually would like go sit in a corner and draw stuff, like
Yeah.
like really angsty. So yeah, I've never been that huge into sports. Yeah,
Yeah. Very nice.
I'm boring. I'm boring it out.
Well, yeah.
What about you? Have you done sports, or are you like
Uh,
into sports?
Mine's a bit similar to you. I always disliked sport, really, but my older brother is like the opposite. He's like loves sport, and
Okay,
then so he would do all the sport, and then when I was a little kid, I would go and do all the same stuff. So I did like basketball and stuff.
okay.
Also, Australia is like
Oh, cool.
insane about sport. It loves sport. Sport is like the most important thing in Australia.
Okay.
So yeah, I
Oh,
didn't like
damn, I didn't
sport.
know that.
I didn't like sport, and so I was a bit similar to you. Yeah, I was not very
Yeah, I
well
guess I can
received.
enjoy like watching sports, but other than that, I'm cooked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kind of.
Gotcha. All right. Next question is: how long do you use your phone every day?
Oh, well, actually, I feel like I could use it more. At least I don't feel like I'm a person that uses it all the time, but I definitely use it like, I don't know, the day has 24 hours, maybe like maybe 10 of those hours are, phone. But
Screen
but
time.
I feel like I don't really talk with that many people anyway, so it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, like maybe I'm not the biggest phone addict.
very good. Unlike me. All right. The next one, the last one in the outlandish questions is about pets. But we kind of asked that already. But so you said you have one cat who you've had for about 10 years?
Yeah.
Is that, do you have any other pets or what's your pet's name?
Oh, well, my cat's name is Kato, with a K, inspired by the Bruce Lee character on the Green Hornet. He was like the sidekick to the Green Hornet, and he was, well, named Kato. And my cat's like a black cat, and Kato had like an all black suit. So at the time, it made sense to me. And I've had a few other cats. But they passed away. I've had like two American cats, like ginger cats, I guess. I've had there was another cat that used to live here, and then he moved away, but he's healthy, so he's cool. His name was Kitty, so not the most original cat names, I will say. I had like a dog when I was like 5 years old to 10, and and then I never got like any more dogs. I had like fish too when I was like younger, but you can really make a close relationship to a fish. Sadly, it will
Yeah,
be awesome, but
yeah.
they forget you really fast.
Yeah, it's
So
much more difficult. It might be possible, but it's difficult.
yeah, yeah, you have to feed them a lot, for them to actually like you, I think.
True, true, true.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, that is the end of our questions. So I've just got like two more, and then we're gonna finish up. So what advice do you have to people who are not as famous and cool as you?
So, oh my God, I don't even have advice for myself. So,
That
I would
might be
say,
advice though.
I
Yeah.
would say maybe I don't know. Like, I feel, um, I feel like I'm gonna sound pretentious, and it's probably because I may be pretentious that I'm gonna sound that way. But I feel like people, or at least like younger people that I've seen that are like into any type of subgenre of music, not only emo, kind of get too attached to like the aesthetics or an idea, like a really superficial idea uh, of making music, kind of. And I feel like one of the things that I don't know that at least attracted me when I started listening to, I don't know, to Cap and Jazz or to a bunch of, I don't know, Oh My God Elephant, these bands of really young people that were making these type of songs, was the fact that I don't feel like they were actually at trying to achieve anything other than expressing, themselves and making music that they liked. So if anything, I will say that people shouldn't really take any sort of label that seriously or anything. It's kind of like, even though I love emo and I will use that word to describe it because it's the word that exists for it, I I don't feel like I will listen to I mean, I will stop listening to this type of music if it wasn't called emo or if it wasn't cool on the internet right now. Like it's kind of like I feel like people should always aim to make something that kind of represents what they feel and what they have to say. I feel like sometimes, at least with math rock or that type of music, you can find a lot of bands that sound the same or that sound really similar in their styles, and that sometimes it's cool and sometimes also feels like this is just noodly guitars just for the sake of it, kind of. So it's kind of like at least when I started the band, I never thought, like back then, I feel like there was not that many bands happening, or at least they weren't that big, and it felt. At least when I started, I always thought like this is going nowhere. Nobody's gonna listen to this. It's not gonna work out in any sort of way, and it kind of worked out because I feel like it was honest, at least on the intention of just making music. So that's my advice. Like people should, you know, just make music that they like, and and not like care that much if it fits a narrative or any sort of movement topic. I don't know. It's kind of like I feel like it takes away a lot of the magic, in the music to be like, I'm gonna make emo, so now I gotta have my fringe this long. I'm gonna have this hoodie.
or
I'm
you
gonna I'm gonna like hit this pose every time I'm on the show. It's like
or you gotta have this
just
exact
be yourself.
guitar or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen like a lot of TikToks of younger bands like that, maybe more into the emo violence side, that I feel I'm seeing like the same band over, like these really cool looking kids. Obviously they are a lot cooler than me, but it's like they just like have all the. Have you seen like this picture, like "Are you emo?" that it was like from a magazine on the 90s or something?
Yeah.
It's like they feel they check the boxes, like, oh yeah, I have this pose, I have this hoodie right now, I have. So it's kind of like everyone's free to do whatever, but I feel like, you know, especially with something as like weird as emo or screamo, it's like, dude, just be yourself. That's the magic of it. You don't really have to fit anything, like for example with hardcore music, I feel like that happens a lot, like this like mentality that, hey, if you're gonna be into hardcore, you have to look a certain way, or you have to, I don't know, be vegan too or whatever. It's like, come on, man, you can
Yeah.
just enjoy the music and make something for yourself, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's my pretentious advice.
No, I think that's so. I think that's very valid though. Yeah, and like one of My difficulties with emo and punk and a lot of the anti-label genres is that they do kind of just become ridiculous when they start making their when it becomes a label. Like punk, it's kind of just a standard postmodern critique, but like punk is meant to be, all labels are bullshit. But so if you start saying
Yeah,
I'm punk, then that is not punk, right? And I think a lot
yeah.
of
It kind of it's
well,
like a loop. I don't know. It's like a
exactly, yeah,
snake eating itself.
yeah, yeah. But it's exactly the same, like you said with emo as well. Like for it's kind of well, again, like of course everything changes, but if it's music for weird people, then just be true to your weird self and do what you
Yeah,
love,
exactly.
however you can.
I feel like with emo, at least like I mean, emo has been like really popular on the internet for a while now, but I feel like nowadays I feel like maybe it's a side effect of aging or something of growing up, but it kind of like the more I read about emo or I see bands like new bands that are like, oh no, you don't get it. We are six wave post electronic, like this bunch of labels that sometimes don't mean anything when they're together. I kind of like I lose the interest for it because it's like so self-aware, you know. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like the magic of bands like Cap and Jazz is they didn't have any idea of what they were doing. American football as well, you know. It's like bands that were just doing it themselves.
Yeah. Well, one of
So
my
that's
favorite,
like
one of the, I don't, I think one thing is like Scrams as well is and was a meme, like it was a joke. And that's why, like,
yeah,
whenever I say Scrams, I mean it as a joke, like, because I mean it in that all
yeah,
labels
yeah,
are
exactly.
stupid, and that's it's a great example because it was started just by a outsider of the scene who was trying to like co-opt the scene for money basically, and
Yeah,
then people sort of started taking it seriously for some reason because you have to label everything. But really, just music is
yeah,
music. Every band is unique. Every band makes their own genre, really. And it,
basically
if
that's
you're
what I feel like.
if you're like, oh, we're a screamo band, then it's like, well, what does that mean though? Like, are you your arms are my cocoon? Are you Ostraka? Like, they're both screamo, but they're totally
And
different.
they're like, I know. Yeah. I
Anyway,
remember like when the band started, there were a lot of bands that sounded just like Your Arms Are My Cocoon, down to the production and everything. And it felt like I love Your Arms Are My Cocoon, but I feel like if you're inspired by it, you don't really have to do it exactly the same. You know, it's weird. But yeah, let's stop hating for a sec.
yeah, well, yeah. I think as long as it's hating on the right things, it's good.
Yeah, yeah,
But,
exactly.
I don't know. Just be yourself is the message.
Yeah,
It,
exactly. Yeah,
it, yeah.
besides of you don't have to be pretentious about it, but yeah, be yourself. It's like
All right, very good. And yeah, what's next for you is the second to last question. Oh, is the kind of last main question. So what's next? Bears beats Battlestar.
yeah, I don't know. I guess yeah, I mean, I plan on working on music. I'm not even sure if it's gonna be with Bear Speeds because every day that I make a song, I think, oh, what if this just means I need to make another band or or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess for now, I really want to like take my time into being able of recording something a little bit better, like maybe with a studio equipment or maybe with actual people playing with me rather than doing it all on my own too.
Yeah.
Mostly because I feel like I end up making the same thing over and over. So I don't like that either. It's like I feel like, you know, I kind of it's yeah, it's like if I want to continue doing that, I could just keep making militaris music, but it's not like exactly what I want. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully in less than 10 years I make a batch of decent songs, and
Yeah. There's always more time. It's good to take breaks as well, isn't it, really, and reevaluate your artistic vision.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and I feel like with militaries, I made like so much the songs, like so many songs in a really short like time period. So it's
Mm.
like I kind of feel worn out with it. It's kind of like, yeah, it's hard. Sometimes I come up with something and I'm like, I already did this. I
Yeah,
already made
yeah,
this
yeah.
song like before. So yeah.
Yeah, totally get you. All right. Thank you so much.
Well, my man,
That's pretty much it. Let's say goodbye and yeah, stay well.
sayonara. No, you too,
Yeah,
man. Have a Merry Christmas.
yeah,
Happy holidays.
yeah. Happy holidays. Yeah. All right.
It was a pleasure speaking with you, my man.
Great to talk to
Have a good
you.
night.